Stand by. Good evening, Carl Yard. What's happening, my brother? Welcome to Five Black
Going on?
Comics.
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm well. You got the helm, baby. What time is it? What we doing?
We're about to get rolling, rocking and rolling here. Hi, my five black comics. Like I'm,
No, you should say you're four black comics because you're one of the five. You should say hello, my four black comics.
you preach, you're muted, and Desire's still muted.
Yep. I got
I
it.
said I thought we did away with slavery, and now you own us.
I have to be very careful because it was pointed out to me that I am the oddball out. I am the foreigner in the group, as people said.
Foreigner in the group.
I'm the foreigner. I was told I'm the foreigner in the group, and I should sit down and not have anything to say. But anyway, welcome everybody. Desi, let's start with you. How you doing, brother? I see you have happy holidays in the background. You celebrating
Doing
Hanukkah.
well, doing well.
You get all the gifts. You get Hanukkah. You get Kwanzaa. You
Yep.
get Christmas.
Hey, under white supremacy, we got to celebrate every chance we get.
I need to read up on Kwanzaa because honestly, I've had white people say Happy Kwanzaa to me, and they felt very proud that they were saying Happy Kwanzaa, and I didn't say anything, Mom. I have no idea what it's about, but I'll take it. I had to go and read up on it on the Kwanzaa. Moving on to Gerald. I'm sorry, Preach. Gerald apparently is in the witness protection program. Preach, how you doing, brother? Preach, why you keep muting yourself? Hello, Preach. Preach. Let's go to Tanya. Let's go to Tanya.
Hi, Preach. Can you hear us?
Let's go to Tanya. Tanya, how are you?
Someone was,
I'm good. I was watching Preach being a daze.
I was watching intently. That's what I was doing. I was watching.
We're in it. Zoned in.
We get back to Preach. Tanya, how are you doing?
Excellent. Thank you. How are you guys?
Good. You staying safe?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you.
You ready to get that vaccine?
Of course not.
Okay.
Not in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Nope.
Tanya's you remember the Tuskegee experiment, right? So yeah.
Absolutely. That's why I'm not in this life. And forget the Tuskegee experiment. There was a guy that I was watching a documentary, African American guy. He's like, I want to say he's like 70 or something. And 20 years ago, he got HIV and they never told him. His doctors knew because they found the records with all of them knew from 20 years ago, but no one ever told him. So he spread that around all around in like 40 years, whatever it took, whatever many years it's been. So no vaccine for me. Thanks. I'm good.
Preach, back to you. How are you doing?
Wow. You know, I've been flip-flopping on that. I definitely do not want anything to do with the was it Pfizer, where they say it has to be kept at minus 94 degrees, because they didn't say, well, what happens if it gets above minus 94 degrees? How does it mutate? How does that affect the vaccine if you give it to somebody after it's warmed up too much? They didn't mention anything about that. So it could, you know, that could be the start of the zombie apocalypse. They give you the vaccine that's too warm, and all of a sudden you get the zombiosis, and you know.
All right, so we're waiting on Kevin. I'm not sure. I know this is very frustrating. Have you heard back from Kevin, Steve? Or did he say
I just sent him a text on his phone, the link and password. So I also put it in the chat. If you guys want to copy and paste that and chase him down with it, we can all try to get him in. But I sent him a text to that number. I would rather have his email. That's why I was asking you to give him my email so he could email me and then I could reply him the link.
Anybody get a notification that we're live on our page?
Actually,
I did.
yes, I got one.
That we're live on the Five Black Comics?
Yeah, we're live everywhere.
Okay.
Okay. I put that and I just sent it to him again to make sure. Let me see. Hopefully that.
All right, let's today's show we're going to talk about the effects of mass incarceration on the Black community. I know some people are in denial. I have to admit, when I first came in this country and I heard about mass incarceration and Black people going to jail more often than white people, I thought to myself, you don't do anything, you don't go to jail. That was my thought process, but boy, was I wrong. I didn't think that people would just look at you and say, hey, you need to go to jail, and just snatch you up off the streets and make some stuff up and take you to jail. I didn't think that was a thing. I think one of the big things, a lot of people from the Caribbean, such as myself, we don't want to believe that there is such hatred that exists in the world. I literally thought that racism, that slavery, when I watched Roots, I remember watching Roots in Barbados, I thought that was all done. You know, it happened in the 1700s. I swear to God, didn't think that people still existed that did not like Black people just because they were Black. So I thought I was coming to a country where that was all done and all in the past, and, you know, just going to be a smooth sailing in the American society. But
you thought there was a post-Rachel utopia in the
I
United States?
absolutely did thought there was.
Yeah.
You believe in Santa Claus and the bunny rabbit and
Yes,
all
I
that
did.
other bullshit too?
Yes.
Wait, so let me ask you something, Carl. So
Yes.
you on the islands, had they ever heard of or seen the movie The Birth of a Nation?
No.
No?
No, we don't
Okay.
show
So then
stuff
that
like
okay.
The closest we got Roots,
Mhm.
and that was it.
Wow.
I
And
have that film in my library and I want to screen it for
Yeah.
February Black History Month.
So I mean, you're so, because what they show on TV
Mhm.
about America, when they show American movies or film or TV shows, they show nothing about racism. As you guys know, they never the shows that they show on TV does not reflect American society, right?
Need to do the history books.
Exactly. Hello, which we're just learning. We're just accepting now.
So but what I found out about mass incarceration and how it affects Black communities and a lot of Black people are put in prison. Most of it is at the discretion of the judges, which I did know.
Yes.
There's something called let me see here.
I have it too somewhere.
It's there's something called non-government sponsored departures, variances.
Mhm.
Basically what that is judges have the option to either up your jail time or lower your jail time or your prison time. It's totally up to the judge.
Mhm.
They can, if the judge is having a good day, he can say, okay, Desi, I know you did some jaywalking and it's usually a 5-year sentence. But Desi, I'm gonna give you a year just to teach you a lesson. Or you can say, Desi, this is the third time you've been jaywalking. I'm gonna give you 50 years. It all depends. That I didn't know.
Yeah, but you
Did you
realize
know what
that
changed that?
law, but that
Clinton
law,
and
it
some other-
used to be judge had the power to give you no time at all. If they saw you were a decent person and you were at the wrong place at the wrong time, and you had a little bit of a future, or they could read into you or who vouched for you or the case, they could let you off on probation. But they passed a law that said judges had to issue minimum times. So now they tied the judge's hands to have the personal discrepancy to let people off who needed a break and who really shouldn't be in the prison system at all. And that was designed to, like, if you catch any Black person and you put them in the court and you get them to plea, which is what they want. 1% of Black people who are charged go to court. They go for the plea because they know that the jury and the system is stacked against them, and they're going to be found guilty even when they're innocent. And if they're found guilty, they're going to get the maximum sentence. So that right there needs to be reversed. That law that says judges are mandatory to give out minimum sentence. We need to lose the minimum sentence clause in that bill, in that law. So the judges can go back to, all right, Carl, you're a good kid. You cut a couple of jaywalks. You know, we don't have the mandatory minimum sentence anymore. I think you're a good egg. I think you'll learn from this, and you won't do anything. And you know, I'm gonna let you slide this time. But you're on a 6-month probation, or you're on a year probation. That means you got to be good for a year. But I'm not gonna put you in prison.
All right, so
to have the person and you put them in the court.
Somebody's listening back.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
put your broadcast on pause because you don't want to hear the delay playback.
And Carl, are you aware that the 94 crime bill changed a lot of it and made it mandatory maximum sentences for drug-related crimes? And that's why we have the big explosion in prison population?
Yeah.
That's part of that same law I was talking about with the minimums.
Mm-hmm.
Mandatory minimum and mandatory maximum.
Okay.
That's all in that same bill.
Yeah, that was during the whole crack epidemic
Yes, and that's
in Needle Brown.
Yes, and it was well.
When
There's a
people
couple
trying
of
to
people.
get Needle Brown.
DMB, man, we all we got.
Yeah.
so Desi, what are the effects you think on the Black community, and what are your thoughts on the whole mass incarceration?
Well, I think it's a cradle to grave. It's a whole plan that we are just really figuring out now. I'm with you, Carl, in that even here in the United States, we weren't aware that there was a racial discrepancy as far as people in jail. In that, I can just speak for me. I thought that if you were in jail, you earned it. You belonged in jail. I had no idea about the planting of evidence and everything else. So to get back to your question, basically the effect is devastating. It is a genocide because they try to get, or they capture, they incarcerate young men who are family age, who can have offspring, and they put them in prison. So when they're in prison, they cannot have offspring because they're in jail, and they can't have income. So it's not only a reproductive genocide, it's financial genocide, it's emotional genocide. When they come out, they are zombies. They're the walking dead because they have no vote, which means they have no standing really in our government. They have very few rights. There is prison. If you get out of prison, you're supposed to be allowed to get a job. But everybody knows that once you see a person has been incarcerated, you're going to find whatever reason you can. So basically, it's genocide.
Yeah, and well, another piece of that is that why is it that even though we make up the least amount of the population, it's the most of us, and we commit the least amount of crimes. I forgot the exact stat on it, but it was like 64%. I want to say 64% of whites commit crimes, but yet it ends up most of us, more of us are in jail. So
Right.
that's yeah.
Sorry, not to cut you off, but just to give you an example, drug use among all races is generally the same. Drug incarceration. So what happens is a police officer pulls over someone who car smells like marijuana, but they're white. They'll say, "Oh, this is a good kid. He's got a future in front of him. Go home and don't ever let me catch you with marijuana again." If the person is black, he could be the same age, could go to the same college. The officer's like, "I know you have an intent to sell, and we think that you're a drug dealer. Get out of the car. You're under arrest." So that's the major discrepancy. Basically, what I have too is that there are more black men incarcerated in the United States than female prisoners incarcerated in the whole world.
Yes.
We have 20% of the world's population, 20% of the world's prison population is United States prisoners, and we are less than 4% of the world population. That shows that we're supposed to be the home of the free, the land of the brave, but we sure do have a lot of people in jail that are should be free.
Well, to that, there's I'm trying to find the stat. They were doing a stat. I watched this documentary on different parts of the world with the highest prison populations, whatever. And it showed that like Russia, other places had higher populations than us, but we still had more Black people in prison. No matter across the board, we were like, now it's like 22 point something million prisoners. I think I want to say 22 million prisoners, and we make up about, I want to say 60% of that. It's crazy stats. So the emotional trauma, though, that Carl, you were asking about, would be there's a lot of it, but the most important part is that it's stuff that can pass generational to generational. So you never really get the healing that you need, because if someone's in jail for 20 years and then they get out, they got to start all over from scratch. If they're lucky to have a good support team, that's possible. If they're not, it's probably going to be a react out another crime again, because what resources would you have? Then you have the family who's used to not seeing you in the home, which is probably where you get a lot of single Black mothers, that whole theory coming from. Because if the man's not in the home, it kind of, puts a little strain on everybody, including the kid. So there's a lot of trauma that comes from that, not just the person that's in jail, but the kids, the family, everybody. It puts a stress on everybody. So I don't know. It's there's so many levels of that.
Yeah. I mean, hey, what's up, Kev?
Hey guys, how y'all doing, everybody?
All right, we're good, man. We're good. Go ahead.
That's good. Now, so there's a lot of Black mothers in prison, also Black women who are mothers in prison also. I found an interesting stat, though, that tripped me out, which is there's actually more white women in prison in America than Black women. Like, we know it's more Black males in prison than anybody, in the world. But I'm saying there's more white women in prison than Black women, which is good. Just, it's interesting stat. Good stat, yeah. That I found that out. I read that, I was like, wow, I didn't know that. I thought, it'd be across the board, African Americans across the board would be number one, but there are more white women in prison than Black women. Just want to throw that out there. But yeah, there's a lot of, Black moms in prison, that like what Tanya was saying, that affects the family also, People don't realize that. Don't think about it, but a lot of Black women doing some serious time, and a lot of them are mothers, so yeah.
I also found that there's a lot of Black people doing life in prison with no chance of parole for drug crime. Like there's no violent crime, there's no murder involved. There's, I guess in the whole that war on drugs when they did.
Right, Reagan and all them, yeah.
Yeah, and they're doing life. Like life with no chance of parole because they had a pound of cocaine or because they had a bag of crack. So that right there, there got to be somebody should say, look, we messed up with this whole war on drugs thing. We got to go back and change this.
Nope. You know why? What? Never happened. Let me tell you. Sorry, I had to interrupt for 1 second. I'm sorry. The reason why, and this is the bottom line, is money. Because jails are very lucrative business, first of all. So they are rather build more jails than more schools. They are coming up with a new modality, in fact, that instead of, because you got the Black Lives Matter and everybody protesting about, oh, we don't want more jails, we want more of this, we want more of that. They're like, okay. So now they've come with another modality that they're trying to pitch to everybody. Don't worry, the prisoner can stay home with an ankle bracelet. That's the new thing. So now in the hood, not only do you have to worry about the drugs and all that other stuff going on, the shootings, but now you got to worry about the level 3 sex offender living right in his home with a bracelet on. There's just going to be a whole nother level, but it's all about money. Make no mistake about it. That's all
they can make money putting us in college too. College education is expensive.
Oh yeah, but that wouldn't be lucrative to them. That would not be lucrative to them, because then you might figure out how to open a business, and that's a problem. So
Yeah.
just saying, that's not lucrative. That's not lucrative at all. We think
And one
for us it is.
One of the things we need to consider is that in order for us to be competitive on a global market, we have to compete with China. China does not have a minimum wage. They barely pay their workers. The way we get around a minimum wage is we farm out production to prisons.
There's-
So we don't pay a wage for the manufacturing. There's 12 major companies: McDonald's, Wendy's, Walmart, Starbucks, Sprint, Verizon, Victoria's Secrets, Fidelity Investment, JCPenney's, Avis, and a lot of airlines. They all outsource their work to prison population. So they're still paying the prisoner. They're paying the prison, but the prisoners are slave labor, which if you go back to the 13th Amendment, slavery is outlawed except for the punishment of a crime. And that's how they get around it.
You know, what I noticed every single show we do about, you know, helping Black people and figuring out why Black people are treated this way, it always comes back to one thing for me: the hatred of Black people.
Say it. Slavery.
Yes, it's the hatred of. It's like no matter what we do, it's like no matter what we do, they find a way to either put us in jail, shoot us in the back, shoot us. You know what I mean? Police brutality. No matter what we do, so like how do we get away from these people other than creating on our own? I mean, Tanya, you put up a story about people in Atlanta that bought 19 acres of land and they were going to create a Black city for Black people and have Black police and whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's like.
Well, you're not going to stop people from hating people.
Give me a second, Steve. Give me a second. On one hand, we're hearing, oh, things are getting better, and nobody's admitting the things that are obviously being done to Black people. Yeah, because we're Black. There's no other reason than the fact that we are Black, and this is why they're doing it. So, I mean, the answer to that is we all know is to create our own wealth and create our own jobs and create our own, you know, Black communities and spend it, you know what I mean? But who knows if that's ever going to happen? But
well, I think what you're saying, Carl, is a contribution in the right direction. I'm not sure if that's actually the solution, because the people who hate us, God in the heavens is not going to change their mind. That the hate is so deep seated to where there is no inspirational, motivational nugget on earth that's going to allow them to change that. So,
right.
but what we can do is we can make the behavior of the haters illegal. So, and we need to enforce that. So, if you're not going to change that they hate us in the past, they hate us now, and they will hate us forever in the future. It's insane to think you can change something that you can't change. So you gotta work within the wheelhouse of what you can change, and what we can change is put legislation in place and policies and bills and laws that make it, that outlaw and that discourage and that has economic consequences for these behaviors. So you can still hate, but you're not going to act upon it because of a policy. You're not going to act upon it because of the economic consequence on it. You're not going to act upon it because that behavior is illegal. That's where we need to focus the change. We're not going to get these people to like on their own all of a sudden wake up Christmas Day and love Black people. That's not going to happen.
Exactly what I'm saying.
But aren't some of those people that you're saying hit them with the laws, Stephen? Aren't the people that make the laws are the people that hate us?
Exactly.
But that's what I
There it
said.
is.
We're
I was
paying
like,
attention,
boom.
Kevin.
Exactly
I said we got to get legislators in there to make those laws, because the ones who are making the laws now are the ones who hate us. So all the laws that are on the books, those sundowner laws, all those thousands of racist laws that are still on the books, from emancipation, were made from black haters. So we need new legislation, and new bills to not only reverse those laws, but also to write and vote and elect new legislation that makes all that activity illegal. And
Right.
so now you're putting haters in a place where all they can do is hate you, but they can't do shit. You know?
Yeah, and like we always say, it starts from the bottom. When people talked about, oh, we're voting for the president and stuff. Yeah, but you got to vote for their mayor. You got to vote for the dog catcher. You got to vote anytime there's an election. Vote so you can start making those changes and all your politicians from the ground up. So the ones making laws against you aren't there anymore.
Yeah,
That you
that's
you
the
put
solution,
them.
Carl. That's where we should focus all of
Power.
our energy is on the council, on the assembly, on the local and regional offices, and the first agenda they need to have is a anti-racial, not just not be racist, but to initiate a movement to eliminate the behavior of racist haters.
Well,
That's the key.
also, you got one other thing that's very important that they fail to do all the time. Media, in the fashion world, in the TV world, and I mean everything is set up in all the systems to still reflect this hate, but no one really addresses it. They put a candy coated, like even the Black Lives Matter thing happened, and for a minute it was like, okay, maybe I can get a spot writing on Saturday Night Live. Psyched. That didn't work out. So all the things, media, the news, the stories that they report is what always a black guy on the front page murdering somebody or doing something. I saw this shooter the other day at the Catholic Church, and I was like, he must be white. And my daughter said, why? I said, because they ain't put his picture all over the paper yet. If it was a brother, trust me, the guy who had his son who was shooting the people from the bridge in Ohio, the black guy, they put him all over. And so I was like, this guy, but I was right. I think he was Latino, but he wasn't a brother. And I knew he wasn't a brother because I was like, well, first of all, we're not going to go in no church and shoot nobody up, but that's another story. But we have to change the images that are seeing, but we can't even do that because we can't even redo the Constitution, which is where we really need to start. If we really want to make amends and say, okay, even if you don't give us reparations, even if you didn't for whatever reason, even the first step is there's things in that Constitution and all throughout that are like, that's a little outdated. We need to change that. That's the first step. And then comes the images that we see on TV, the jargon that we let people use. It's just everything's dictated to make people hate us or feel a certain way about us. And it's done intentional. It's not by accident. It's not by accident at all. That's why I was telling you, Carl, about the emotional trauma from us being incarcerated is so deep because it goes like all the way around. Someone in India will meet me for the first time, and in their head for a brief moment, they might think, a lot of her people go to jail. And I was like, nobody I know went to jail. I don't know what you're talking about. But that's the stereotype.
Isn't Donald Trump and Bill Cosby were accused of the same thing? And one guy went to the White House and one guy went to prison.
That is correct.
So the black guy went to prison and the white guy went to the White House.
Yep. And he had 12-year-olds. I think it was the young one's 12 or 14. So that's they're still waiting to prove that.
He had lots of them because he was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein.
Hello.
Exactly.
He's got pictures with Jeffrey Epstein where they're chilling and hanging out. He's been to Epstein's island. He had that little island where he could do whatever he wanted to do on his island.
Head of a Victoria's Secret too. He was giving Jeffrey Epstein money for years. That's kind of where the things get really shady. There's people on top of that list that are like, but you don't give us the same, what I'm saying? They call Bill Cosby the worst whatever in the world. And I'm like, really? What about Roman Polanski, who raped a 12-year-old in his office? I'm sorry. I thought that was as horrific as it can get. But he's living in France, isn't he? Right. So we already know what it is, guys.
What Steve is saying, it makes sense, but there would have to be a collective effort on Black people's part. And that, I don't see that happening in my lifetime. You know what I mean? We need something that can work now. Like soon, like
Now.
in a few years. Like,
Well,
but
you
you were
have to
saying,
have.
you think
Have
those
to get
all white
organized.
people gonna die out? Look, Trump still got 70+ million votes, the second most votes ever in the history of an American election, which means half the country supported Trump after seeing all the stuff he said and did and knowing that he's a racist. They still supported him.
And
So
that's
how are we gonna change that white you know what I mean? That
But check
white
this out, Carl. Carl, piggybacking on what you're saying, Carl, is not only is it American, just regular American citizens supporting Trump, the Congress has, he has 100 senators that's going along with him. Still,
Mitch McConnell's his boy. It's disgusting.
you know, all these guys are still going along with him. All the racism he's shown. They got a new senator, a new elected senator who's already said he's going to oppose Biden on January 6th.
Wow.
Already. So now a few other guys are going to fall in line eventually. So on January 6th is going to be a group of Republicans that's standing behind Donald Trump to try to steal this election, which is not going to happen. But the point that they're even trying at this point, Carl and panel, shows that the racism, I mean, it's all racism. They're not voting for Trump because he's a great president or a nice guy.
Right.
It's all racism. I mean, come on. There's in the story, it's racism.
Yeah, but we also have to address, you know, the own self-hatred we have within our own Black community. And in that is also embedded these reverse psychologies on how we talk to each other, which we talked about earlier. And then on top of that, you know, the hope of stripped out that it's not going to happen, which is what Carl indicated, you know, earlier, that he doesn't see it happening because it's just too, you know, it's just too embedded. And my thing is, we got to start and think small and work our way up, and think big and work our way back to the middle. You know, if we don't start small, think small. If you don't aim small, shoot small, then you don't have a chance of getting those squirrels and rabbits to the dinner table. And if you don't think big and shoot big, then, you know, you're not going to get the big, you know, buffalo to the table as well. You got to have like the hunters who like know how to ride a horse and bag the buffalo, but you also need, you know, the small game shooters who can aim small, shoot small, and then you got rabbits, squirrels, and buffalo at the table. And that's how we need to think as Black people when we address this racism. You know, we can't just throw the small efforts away. We can't throw the large efforts away, and we can't throw the intermediate efforts. We need to, because we are divided and conquered, we need to reunite and conquer those divisions as they address us. And then we will start to see a little bit of a dent. Because we're not unified, that doesn't happen.
Well, also, I think, Carl, I think, no, it was you that said the first point, if we wanted to have any impact at all, is through political power, period. Without that, we have nothing. If we don't have all other groups have the politicians by the Gohannas, excuse the expression. Okay. They all have to buy that because they know the lobbyists, they know all those people that are really pulling the strings, and not just the president. They have them on lock. And until we can get that kind of power and really, you know, go vote, you know, like you said, and put these people in office or take them out, whatever it is, there's really everything else is just talk, pretty much.
You know what is that?
We did vote. Well, we voted. Well, how many people voted? How many people voted for Biden? Biden broke records too, right?
Yes.
80 million. He got 80+.
Wow.
80 million people voted Trump out of office, and a handful of racist Republicans are still trying to overturn that 80 million. They're still trying to, like, so where's the power? I mean, where's there was a chance. It's probably not a chance now because some of the judges went against it. But what if those judges didn't go against it?
Oh, I know.
I mean, we're this close. I mean, we were so close to one man overturning everything that the forefathers put together. I mean, I can't be a fan of the forefathers because they were slave owners.
Right.
But with that being said, they were smart men. And they put the Constitution together, which is pretty good. And it's been here all these years. And nobody was able to F with it all these years. And one racist guy out of New York, builder, comes into the White House, and he's basically almost tore it down. One guy almost tore it down.
Yeah, he's been working on it, on tearing it down or circumventing it the whole time. Yes. And what needs to happen, see, it's not okay, we tried and we failed, so we quit. No, we need to keep going. So those 126, people in the Senate that want to stand behind him, guess what? You're the next to go. See, that you need to keep it going. You're the next to go. Okay, I saw you standing up there when he wanted to overthrow our democracy, our democratic, way of life. You were okay with that, so you got to go next. See, and you need to replace them. And
that's the way it should be.
Putting themselves out there.
That's the way it should be, brother. That's the way it should be. But we can't forget that the 70 million plus people that believe that. I mean, they agree with it. He got 70 million people that agree with his bullshit. That's a lot of people in America.
And 80 million that don't. See, yep. So
that is true.
But there's also groups that are also coming forward and standing up. I know you've heard of the NFAC.
Yes. That's
the black militia groups who are deciding to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Okay, but they're all up in alarms about, oh my God, look, they're arming themselves and they're walking the streets. The Poor Boys are doing that. Okay, other white supremacist groups are doing that. So why don't we have the same rights? And that's what they're saying. We have the same rights to arm ourselves and walk the streets.
Can I say something real quickly? I saw this yesterday. I was at a gas station yesterday, and I pull up at the pump, and I look over. I see this beat up pickup truck, and has this huge Trump flag hanging from it. Trump Pence flag hanging from it. So I walk by. Guy sitting in the truck, redneck guy, had on some shades, even though it was cloudy yesterday. So I walk in to the gas station. I see him get out the car, and he's in plain clothes and little dirty looking dude. He gets out. When he gets out the car, his jacket's open. He got a gun. I see the gun, and I was like, "Oh my God, this guy gonna come here and shoot us up." It was that bad, man. I mean, that's where we're living at now. I mean, in New York you can carry a gun, but the fact that this guy had a giant Trump flag, then I see him get out the car, plain clothes, and I don't think he was a cop. He wasn't the most well-groomed human on the planet. He just looked like the type of guy. But he gets out the car. I won't stereotype the brother, but he gets out the car, man. And I see this big Glock underneath his coat. It's in a holster, by the way. Mm-hmm. But it was the scariest thing, man, to see that some guy with shades on a cloudy day walking into a gas station, knowing he had a gun and a giant Trump flag, hanging from his truck, man. It was just scary, but that's where we at right now, man. These guys are
Dave Chappelle said it best, because these people running around blindly following Trump. He goes, Trump's not in favor of you. He's not supporting you guys. He's not doing anything for you. The guy in the truck, in the beat up truck, walking around with his gun, Trump's not doing anything for you. He's like, he's working for me. And
what's so funny about that? The truck was so beat up and it had a broken window in the back. And he had a piece of cardboard on the back thing because the window was broken. And I thought the same thing you thought, preachers. This cat here is not, obviously, he got that gun, but he ain't spend no money on that truck. And he's, that truck looked like it was on his last leg. That flag was bigger than the truck, man.
Yeah, you know what I noticed? Like, Black people, we're always expected to be the humble ones. When white people want shit, they take it. They go out, they start a war, they tear shit up, they kill people, right? They came to America to kill the Indians, right? If they want some, right, Black people built, we had a Black Wall Street, they came in, they burned it down, you know what I mean? And when it comes to us, we're expected to be the ones to take the high road, as people say. Michelle Obama, and when they go low, we go high. I mean, that doesn't, in my opinion, that doesn't always work. You know what I mean? Sometimes you gotta take what you want. You know what I mean? Because you keep going to the people that hate you, beg and say, hey, please, please, can you please treat us fairly? Please, Mr. Man, can you treat us fairly? Can you please, please? You know what I mean? You come with hat in hand, please, please. And what happens? Boom. Every time you show up, please help us. Boom. I mean,
Well, I
how
think
many
we're
times how many times you got to get punched in the face?
true.
You know?
But I think we're doing that, Carl. We're doing that now very slowly, but I see people, I mean, they are really taking serious action. I have a friend, Tanisha, they packed up and moved to Tulum, Mexico. They left before all the craziness got, because they saw it coming. And so there's a whole group of them. They're homeschooling their kids and they are having a good time, sending us pictures from the lovely beach, that they don't have to deal with all the stress that we're dealing with. So when they heard about the other shooting, it was like, oh, you're still dealing with that trauma? Wow, you poor thing. And she was interviewing some of the guys, asking them, you know, why'd you come to Tulum? And one brother said, listen, I've been so traumatized by the shootings. Like every time one happens, I get more and more, you know, paranoid about stuff. And I'm not a criminal. I've never committed a crime, but I feel like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it to be 27 if I don't get the heck out of here. That's why he left. So you have to, you know, there are people who are making strides and doing what they have to do. But in the meantime, you know, I don't ask anybody for any.
As I've been in this country now 30 plus years, and it still amazes me. Like, in my opinion, we're asking people to be human beings, right? All the things Black people are asking for is just to treat us fairly, just to be fair, or just to not kill us. You know what I mean? We're asking for things that in any other society would be normal. Here we are doing a show about asking people not to treat us like shit, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but why do you ask? Because you already know what the answer is going to be.
Right, so exactly.
That's where I'm at now. I don't need to ask your permission. I don't need you to verify anything. I'm just doing me, and I'm going to try to make strides along. Because
so I'm saying that to say this, it tells us what kind of people we're dealing with. They're never going to change. I was listening to Fox News one night. This was back when Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, Riley.
Bill O'Reilly. He said these words. He said, I don't know what all these protests are about. White people are not going to change. That's exactly what he said.
And it's true. That's true. The majority of them won't.
That's
right.
They're like that. They're not going to change. Now, the ones that want to walk with us or stand with us during these times, that's great. That's and we hope they don't change either, because we're going to need them as well. But as Tanya was saying, if Blacks are starting to step out and form this, and make sure you form it all the way. So like I mentioned, the NFAC, where you have these Black militias. So make sure you have some of them guys hanging around too. So when they decide they want to come in and tear down your city, you got someone standing at the gate saying, no, we're not doing that this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
and that'll create jobs. That'll create jobs. That'll be interesting.
The thing is, we know that America was created on a hierarchical system where the Black people are the designated underclass. So everyone can come to America with pennies in their pockets. They get support from the government to grow up, start a business, start minimum wage, go to college. Everyone but Black people, because the system is dependent on an underclass for everyone else to climb up off of. And we have been considered that underclass since slavery time.
Well, we have been.
What we realize is that one of the founders of the country, Jefferson, he says, I shudder to think that God is just, and his just won't stay unsatisfied forever. And what he was saying is that he knows that there's going to be a day of reckoning where Black people or God will shed justice on the United States. And that's what their job, white people's job, is to delay that justice for the next generation. They're kicking the can down the road, and they're trying whatever they can to not have to pay that price that they've enjoyed.
But that fear and that hatred is justified if you look at the kind of people that we are. You know, first of all, we've been oppressed and been enslaved for 400 years, and we still can find joy in ourselves, in our art, in each other, even all of that. And if you look at the influence that we have all over the world, that's intimidating. And the fact that we aren't in control of most of it, and they know that if we're in control of our own intellectual properties, our own commodities, and our own byproducts, the economic power of that, it would dwarf anything that's going on right now. And they know it. We don't. We don't know it because we've been pounded into a reverse psychological mindset to where we squabble with each other over the smallest things to keep us distracted from looking at that bigger picture. And that bigger picture is what they see, what they know, and what they fear. So all the little things they implement in us to divide us is to keep us from getting to the point to looking at that bigger picture so that we can never get there. And that's the why. That is the why there's systemic racism. That's the why there's police brutality. That's the why that every tiny little thing that's put in place to keep us divided, distracted, and battling each other are there as part of a strategy. If we can get past that, if we can get past that pettiness, and if we can get past the why and look at the what, how, and when, we are going to win. And that is the biggest fear that non-white people have. That's why other groups can come into this country and get all the support, because they never, ever will be the threat to that empire that is sitting there waiting to bubble up that black people are sitting on. And that's the fear. That's the why.
So
they thought until those people started getting businesses.
The change has to come from us. I agree with you 100%, Stephen. We have to get on code with each other and decide that we are going to work together on every aspect of life so that we are not pitted against each other and held down.
All right, let's stop there for one. So how do we do that? Because we've been saying that for decades, right? We've been saying that for decades.
We do that with a code of conduct. We have a code of conduct in every area of activity: entertainment, education, economics, labor, law, religion, sex, politics, and war. Everything that we do as human beings.
Break it down. I remember the name of that Denzel Washington movie, but he said, "Talk to me like I'm a 2-year-old."
Okay, what Des is saying is absolutely right. We start with a code of conduct. Code of conduct.
Break it down.
The code of conduct.
I'll break it down to you. I'll break it down to you right now. Okay. Here's the code of conduct. Right. Okay. We all, as black people, as a code of conduct, adhere to never use the N-word in America ever again. If we unite on that, that's a code of conduct that we can unite on, which would not only have something that unites us and gives us self-esteem, but it tells the world how we think about ourselves, and now we're telling the world how they should treat us and how they should talk to us.
And that's one step we need to do. Along with that, sorry to cut you off, but along with that, everything we do should be productive. If it's not leading us to improving our position, we shouldn't take part of it. So, like saying the N-word is not leading us to being productive. Making fun of each other, the dozens, dissing each other, it only breeds hatred or contempt. We have to do everything we do has to be leading towards a more cohesive relationship among each other.
And how do we get to that point, brother? How do we get to that point? And how do we tell the rappers in the dirty South don't drop the N-word? How do you tell your favorite comedian on stage don't say the N-word? You know.
Well, it's not. You don't tell anybody to do anything. You create a campaign and they voluntarily buy into it. And if they don't, then that's on them. But at some point, just like we were bombarded to embrace the N-word as a word we own over the years, the reverse will start to happen. People will start embrace the concept of using it is something that's not productive for our people. So I'm not saying we should tell people what they should or shouldn't say. I'm not saying we should censor people. I'm saying we should all exercise our right of freedom of speech. But what comes with that is our right to freedom of the words we choose, or the freedom of no speech. That's a freedom too.
You guys are saying if we show respect for ourselves, we would get respect from other people? Is that basically what I'm
Oh,
saying?
well, no. If we show respect from ourselves, we will get respect from ourselves. Well, forget the other people. We got to start within. We have to start with ourselves. You know how you get self-esteem? You have to accomplish something by yourself in order to get self-esteem. It's not other esteem or they esteem or we esteem. It's self-esteem. Well, that same thing applies with us as a culture. Our self-esteem has to come with something we accomplish. And then we get self-esteem and self-respect. So if Black people as an individual were able to tackle one specific task as easy as eliminating the N word, and we unite on it, then we all will have the unified self-esteem of knowing we've accomplished something as a unit that no one can ever take away from us. And forget telling people what they should or shouldn't do or what they can and can't say. That's all bullshit, psychological wordsmithing. The real deal is, how do we get self-esteem amongst our people as a unit, as one unit? And that is accomplishing things within that one unit as a unit. Then
go ahead, Tanya.
the self-respect and self-esteem will happen.
Okay,
Well, self-esteem, to bring it back to the prison system, which is what we were talking about,
Right.
self-esteem, you know, you can't, the first thing that we have to, I'll say, okay, so self-esteem is what we're talking about now, but I want to bring it back to the prison system and how it affects us. And that is definitely one way it affects us, is self-esteem. I believe that if more people had self-esteem, not just us, maybe so many of us would not be in jail, because even the Proud Boys, they clearly don't have any. They think they do because it sounds like it, you know, I'm proud to be an American, that type of thing, but it's not, because it's, if you're not confident in yourself, then you do pick on other people and you do nitpick with other people. So you got us on one side doing that. I understand what your point is, but I wanted to focus back on the prisons and how it affects us being in jail so much. And one thing is definitely self-esteem. It does not help, and it can't help in any way, shape, fashion, or form. But that's not just with us. That's with American society has to get some cojones, as I say, and figure out how to treat people better, period, so that everybody can have self-esteem.
You know, for me, one of the things that I think will help Black people tremendously is if you look at all the things that majority of Black people spend their money on, and, you know, like Air Jordans, and you're telling me Michael Jordan cannot kick Nike to the curb, take his money and make his own sneakers and then employ a bunch of Black people? He couldn't, you know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of stuff I think about, you know? Couldn't, like, instead of going out and buying Gucci, there are Black designers out there. Why don't we seek those people out and buy their stuff? You know, we have, there's a Black Twitter, which means there's a group of Black people that have a platform on Twitter called Black Twitter. There isn't a Black person that can create a social media app for Black people, so we don't have to depend on the guy that owns Twitter. You know, what is Michael Jordan? Does Michael Jordan really need Nike, or does Nike need Michael Jordan? You know, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's where I think we would make a huge turnaround if we started thinking like that. But it seems like no matter how much money Black people have, there's still some white man holding the reins, just, you know what I mean, pulling them back. Like, you know, like even like people like Oprah, who's a billionaire, but still you can tell she doesn't speak her mind really, you know what I mean? She doesn't, it still seems like she's kind of being held back somehow. So I don't know.
Well, I think the answer to that is start small, work your way up, and aim large, and work your way down. You know, it's we are a powerful, influenceable group of people, and we don't maximize and leverage that, and it's because we're not unified. And you know, we're going to be in a stall until we do that, and that's, you know, there it is. You know, whether whether
Yeah,
we
I
like
mean,
it or not.
how many?
Yeah, Des puts it, actually,
Unified,
Desi had a good point.
unified. That's all they keep hearing. We need to unify.
Talk for me, preach.
Go ahead, Preach.
No, I was reading Desi's notes, and I mean, if we help each other instead of going to others for help, if we outreach towards each other, and when they do those food pantries, when they do the shelters, when they do that, if we're doing that for ourselves, then we're depending upon ourselves. And then when we do that, like we used to do in Greenwood, when Steve talked about it being burnt to the ground, they said a dollar bill circulated 28 times before it left that community. That's what we need to do. And if we need to get the NFAC to help protect us from those people running in and burning down our shit again, let's do that too.
And basically what I'm saying is, in our community, if we are united, if we have an issue or dispute, we should settle it among ourselves. We should never have to call the police for help for anything. If we have a problem, we should be able to resolve it ourselves, so that when a policeman shows up in our neighborhoods, it should be so odd and strange. What are you doing here? What business do you have here? We're good. We don't need you here. That's what happens in a lot of areas in Brooklyn that are not controlled by us. The police will actually run out.
They'll make shit up. Police will make shit up to arrest.
I had a police
Be painfully
message me
obvious.
yesterday.
4 minutes, guys. We got 4 minutes. Do we want to do a wrap up?
Yeah, Carl.
Kevin was saying something here.
Real quickly, yesterday, I had a cop push my buttons, but I had to swallow my pride, man. I was double parked in front of a restaurant to run in and get some food, and the cop drives by, goes, "Can't park here, it's a fire lane." And I said, he points to the sign. You see the fire lane sign? And so I point to the sign. I said, "You see the sign that says curbside pickup?" Because right next to curbside pickup.
Oh God.
And he gives me the dirtiest look and goes back and tells me I have to move because it says fire lane. After I point out the curbside to him.
Yeah.
So and he was standing his ground, and I know he wanted a reaction. So I just drove my car around, parked it, got out, and walked in and got my food. And but it's just that quick, and it can escalate that quick, people. The wrong reaction from me can have me, a hashtag. You know what I'm saying? Just, I played my cards right. I know he wanted a reaction. He knew he was wrong. And when I showed him up, he got angry, But sometimes these cops, man, they can't be trusted. They out to push your buttons.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I said it. He was a redneck.
Well, Kevin, you already showed him up when you stepped out the Beamer to go get your foods, and he ain't got no Beamer. And so
Look, with orange seats in them, with special seats.
All right, 10-second
Yes.
wrap up for each person.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, 10 seconds.
All right, go ahead, Desi. I'm going to start with you.
Thanks everybody for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed it. We're sorry that we have to cover all these topics in such a way, but we appreciate you tuning in. We're trying to be productive and solve our issues. Thank you for watching.
All right, Preach.
this saves me time on therapy.
Anya.
I'm just so glad, Kevin, you made it with those special seats of yours. You made it. You're alive. Thank God for that. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you.
Kev, any last words?
Yes, some people's black entities do belong in prison.
That's a fact.
Let's keep it real. There's some asses out there that belong in jail. We ain't saying everybody in prison don't belong there, but there's a lot of people that are there because of the circumstances that But yeah. Anyway, but thanks for watching the show. It's always a pleasure to bring you these tough topics.
Good point.
Thanks for tuning in.
All right, Stephen E. Kimbrough.
Yes, I just want to remind everybody to let's unite from the bottom up, and then we will create a frenzy, and people will jump on. And I want to thank Kevin for sharing that Black Man's Grace Under Fire story. We need to hear more of that. We need to hear more Black men under grace, handle things with with diplomacy and with smarts and with grace and show who we really are versus getting, you know, all like hyper defensive and escalating things because they know they hate us. So that's what I am. And join us every week, Saturday, 2 o'clock West Coast time, 5 o'clock East Coast time.
All right. Thank you guys. Thanks to everyone for watching the show. What I want to wrap up with is Tanya and I spoke about this. I'll make this real quick. That the myth is that there's a lot of Black families who don't have Black fathers. I know it's perpetuated in the media. They said there's a lot of families with single mothers. I don't buy into it. All the people I grew up with in Barbados and in this country, all the Black people I grew up around and that I know that have a father in their life. So I'm not sure. I haven't thoroughly researched it. Tanya has a doubt about it. I have my doubts about it. That Black fathers are absent in the lives. Yeah, there's a lot of Black fathers absent. There's also a lot of white fathers absent. A lot of Indian fathers absent. A lot of Chinese fathers absent. A lot of men who are married and want to be single and just don't want, you know what I mean? So I'm not buying into the.
Sounds like an upcoming show.
The notion that a lot of families are fatherless. With that said, thank you guys so much for watching the show. Remember, you can check out our Facebook page, 5 Black Comics Facebook page. We have a YouTube channel. We're going to Instagram. We're going through some growing pains. I know there's a lot of people that said they couldn't find the show. They can't find the show. We have to start pushing everyone to our fan page and our YouTube page. It was on my personal page for a long time, and I just wanted it off of my personal page. Nothing against, but with a fan page, you can do a lot more. With a YouTube page, you can do so much more. You can only do so much on a personal page. So with that said, thank you guys so much. Thanks to all of you, beautiful Black people. I love you. I swear to God, and I mean this. From the time I saw George Floyd got killed, I have a love for Black people like I never had before, and nothing's going to change that. And I thank you guys so much for showing up here every Saturday. But like Gerald said, this is therapy for me. I look forward to this. I absolutely look forward to this every Saturday. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Gina, and everybody else who watches.
Yes, Gina
Subscribe,
Fiore,
like, share.
Yes.
Gina, our #1 fan.
A lot of people. Yep.
Yeah, please hit the like and share.
Gina
Yes.
wrote a book about depression. I was chatting with her. She wrote a book about depression, and
Yeah, we have to have her on one day.
on the show to talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody look into the camera. Give me a big smile. I'm going to take a picture, a big screen grab. Awesome. All right. Great job, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Good seeing you, Tanya.
You too.
Carl, preach.